Welcome, and thank you for joining us tonight for the Parent and Family webinar hosted in both English and Spanish. Tonight's webinar will be recorded and posted on the Vice Chancellor for Student Affairs website at vcsa.ucsd.edu. Our hosts tonight are Vice Chancellor Allison Satterland and Associate Vice Chancellor Cheryl Harrelson. I am Ruth Figueroa, Assistant Vice Chancellor for Student Retention and Success. Bienvenidos y gracias por asistir esta noche al Seminario para Padres y Familias. El seminario de esta noche se publicará en línea en bcsa.ucsd.edu. Nuestros anfitriones son vicerrectores Allison Satterland y Cheryl Harrelson. Y yo soy la doctora Ruth Figueroa y proveo dirección y liderazgo a programas de retención y éxito para estudiantes. Tonight, we are joined by a great group of panelists who are here to share information that addresses questions you may have about your loved one's academic journey at UC San Diego. Esta noche nos acompañará un grupo de panelistas quienes compartirán información que responderá a muchas de sus preguntas, la cual esperamos les ayude a navegar la trayectoria académica de sus seres queridos en UC San Diego. First, we will have welcome remarks from Vice Chancellor Allison Satterland. Primeramente, les presento a nuestra vicerrectora Allison Satterland, quien tiene comentarios de bienvenida.
First, we want to extend to you all a warm welcome and thank you for your time this evening. All of us are honored to welcome you to our UC San Diego Triton community. I wanted to share first and foremost that we're working toward the honor of being designated as a Hispanic serving institution. Currently, 22% of our students identify as members of the Latinx and Chicanx communities. At 25% of representation, we will have earned this national distinction, making UC San Diego that much more of an exceptional university and community. It is our job in student affairs to encourage and support your child's academic, professional, and personal well-being. As a mother of a UC sophomore, I also understand how complicated this coming academic year is, and that the start of the school year will be different than anticipated prior to 2020. Tonight, with this in mind, we are working to provide details of the resources available to our students and to their families. And we hope to join together with you to create a safe and supportive community during this challenging time. And it's our job tonight to answer as many of your questions as we can. Finally, before we get started, we are also asking for your support to remind your student to be prepared to wear face coverings, participate in daily symptom screening, and practice physical distancing both on and off campus. Again, it's our pleasure to welcome you to our community. We look forward to serving you.
Vicerrectora de Asuntos Estudiantiles, Satterland, les da la bienvenida a UC San Diego. Como madre de un estudiante de segundo año de UC, entiendo que debe tener varias preguntas. Estamos trabajando para proporcionar la mayoría de detalles antes del principio del año. Les pedimos su apoyo para recordarles a sus hijos que usen una máscara. También que participen en la visión que tenemos para la participación de padres y familia y el equipo colaborativo que vamos a tener, que juntos vamos a mantener comprometidos en crear una comunidad donde estamos apreciando a la gente de habla hispana. Estamos también capacitando a los estudiantes para que descubran y logren sus sueños y que tengan éxito académico. Con esto tenemos también recursos para su bienestar. Para más información puede ir a las redes y puede ir a bcsa.ucsd.edu. Next slide.
Thank you, Allison. Next, we will have Dr. Angela Socha, who will share our plans to keep your loved one and our campus safe. Gracias, Allison. Siguiente, le doy la bienvenida a la doctora Ángela Socha, quien presentará nuestro plan para mantener seguro a sus seres queridos.
Good evening. First, I'd like to share some information about the SARS-CoV-2 virus activity in the San Diego area. You'll notice on the far left that early on in the pandemic, we were doing extremely well, as was much of California. But unfortunately, like many other places, including California, south and western parts of the country, in July, with some probably premature opening, we saw a significant rise in viral activity and cases being detected. The middle slide, though, is another important indicator that we like to follow. You will see, actually, let me go back a little bit. On the left slide, you'll see the green is starting to come down. So while we had that rise in the last few weeks, we are seeing it starting to slow down because San Diego County has put more restrictive measures in place. Their bars are closed, there's no in dining, the gyms are closed. So those things have been very effective. So we're seeing a very sustained drop in cases, and we're very encouraged by that. We believe that that will continue. We hope to see that trend all the way to the start of the fall quarter. In the middle slide, another indicator we look at are positive cases. The rate of all the people tested, how many are positive. Early in the pandemic, this rate was quite high because we only tested very sick individuals, people being hospitalized. In the middle parts, in the drop, things seem to be a little better. And then what we see is that increase in activity, which was very real in July, but you'll notice it is starting to taper off. This is a second indicator that we think things are going in the right direction in San Diego. But we are concerned, as you see on the far right, that young adults, because of some of their behaviors and decisions, are in a group that seems to have had more viral activity. So our preparation for the students is taking that into account.
En San Diego, la tasa de casos y casos positivos están disminuyendo. Sin embargo, vemos un número significativo de casos en la población adulta y joven. Y como ven en lo que están viendo ahorita, la información y los números, empezamos con casos muy bajos y luego cuando seguimos a los meses de julio, los casos sí subieron. Pero ahorita estamos estables. Next slide.
The university has leveraged deep scientific talent in the campus and the health system to develop a comprehensive plan designed to maximize the safety of our community. The plan has three core elements: reducing the risk of virus spread, early detection of viral activity, and intervention when cases are identified, including care for those who may acquire an infection or be exposed. Underlying this approach is a recognition and appreciation that this is a rapidly changing situation, including evolving and changing science as our knowledge grows, as well as changes in the actual viral activity in our communities nationally and internationally. We've made a commitment that we will adapt our plans as the weeks go by so that we can continue to optimally protect and support our community.
La universidad ha aprovechado el talento científico del campus y el sistema de salud para desarrollar un plan integral diseñado para maximizar la seguridad de nuestra comunidad. El plan tiene tres elementos centrales: la reducción del riesgo de propagación viral, la detección temprana de la actividad viral y las intervenciones cuando se identifican casos, incluida la atención a quienes pueden adquirir una infección o estar expuestos. El enfoque es el reconocimiento y la apreciación de que esta situación cambie rápidamente con la ciencia en evolución, así como los cambios en la actividad viral en nuestras comunidades. A nivel local, nacional y internacional, nos hemos comprendido a apartar nuestros planes a medida que pasen las semanas para que podamos continuar protegiendo y apoyando de manera óptima a nuestra comunidad. Next slide.
To reduce the spread, we are using scientific modeling and engineering reviews to determine how many individuals should be on the campus at any one time, how best to house the students, how do we manage the classroom sizes, and all the other activities on campus, with the goal of creating physical distancing and reducing the concentration at any one time.
Para reducir la propagación, estamos utilizando modelos científicos y revisiones de ingeniería para determinar cuántas personas deben estar en el campus, cuál es la mejor manera de alojar los estudiantes, administrar el tamaño de las aulas y otras actividades en el campus, con el objetivo de distanciamiento físico y reducir la concentración de personas en campus en cualquier momento o lugar. Next slide.
To reduce the spread, we're also educating and reinforcing best practices, maintaining a distance of at least 6 feet, hand hygiene and proper sanitation, masking, and the frequent cleaning of all surfaces. We're reminding students also what they should and should not do, including don't share drinks, don't share food, utensils, dishes, and plates.
Para reducir la propagación, también estamos educando y reforzando las mejores prácticas. Mantener al menos 6 pies de separación, higiene de manos, enmascaramiento, limpieza frecuente de superficies. También estamos recordando a los estudiantes lo que no hacer. Compartir bebidas, comida, cubiertos y platos. Next slide.
Early detection of the virus requires identifying and caring for those who become ill. We're going to work hard to identify any viral activity through a number of strategies. The first one will be environmental sampling of our facilities. If the waste out of that building shows activity, we will then test the occupants of that building. Secondly, we'll do periodic asymptomatic testing. In other words, individuals without symptoms, we will test them to see if they are inadvertently shedding virus without their knowledge. And the third is easy access to symptomatic testing for all of our campus community, including students. Testing for students is available at no cost to our students, regardless of any insurance, and for all of our students. Individuals who have inadvertently contracted this virus will be isolated into separate housing if they live on campus. That separate housing has a private bedroom and bathroom, and they will have meals delivered to them. For our students who live off campus, they'll be given instructions on how to isolate at home. If they would want to move out of the apartment they're living in at the moment, we've made arrangements for hotels to provide lower cost hotel accommodation, including meal support for our students who live on campus. For all of our students, regardless of where they live, our medical team will be checking in with the students every day to make sure they're well. Our mental health providers are available to support their mental health needs, and our basic needs team will also provide them with any other services. Our goal is very quickly to identify any viral activity and support individuals, control any spread in a very quick and prompt manner.
La detección temprana del virus requiere identificar y cuidar a quienes se enferman. También estaremos buscando activamente la actividad viral a través de muestras ambientales de nuestras instalaciones y pruebas gratis periódicas de individuos asintomáticos. Las personas que hayan contraído el virus serán aisladas y se llevará a cabo una investigación de caso para identificar a las personas que puedan haber estado expuestas. Mediante el rastreo de contactos, las personas expuestas serán notificadas y puestas en cuarentena. Para las personas que viven en el campus, tenemos unidades de aislamiento dedicadas. Para aquellos que viven fuera del campus, hemos organizado tarifas reducidas en hoteles locales, donde se pueden quedar durante la cuarentena. Nuestro objetivo es reducir rápida y eficazmente la propagación de la actividad viral. Next slide.
Thank you, Angela. I hope you found that information valuable. We are honored to have her expertise at UC San Diego. She will be joining us for the question and answer period later in the webinar. And I'd like to take this moment to remind you that we are taking questions through the Q&A feature of Zoom, and my colleagues on the back end are answering those as rapidly as possible. Gracias, Ángela. Nos sentimos honorados de contar con su experiencia. Ella se reunirá con nosotros durante la sesión de preguntas y respuestas. Les recuerdo también y les invito a que hagan sus preguntas en la caja de preguntas marcada Q en A, y los colegas están detrás, son bilingües y están listos para responder a sus preguntas. Next, we have Executive Director of Housing, Dining, and Hospitality, Damlata Jawhari, to share details about your loved ones living on campus. Ahora sigue la Directora Ejecutiva de Alojamiento, Comida y Hospitalidad, Damlata Jawhari, para compartir actualizaciones.
Thank you, Marut, and good evening, everybody. So looking forward to sharing some updates on housing. So I'd like to remind everyone that while the pandemic started in March, on-campus was always open because that was the home for students. So we had 6,000 students living with us in spring, even since March. And then for summer, we have currently 4,000 students living with us. It's given us a lot of time to really think through our processes and update as needed. So one of the things that we absolutely have made a commitment that all triple occupancy have been eliminated, again, to reduce the housing density very quickly. We eliminated 2,075 triples. That is a lot we've already eliminated. We're also reducing our suites in terms of our double occupancy suites are going to be singles for the fall quarter. So again, as you can see, we're reducing density in on-campus housing. Also, we know that students will be coming to campus for move-in. Our traditional move-in is about 3 days, but in order to make sure we're accounting for adequate time for families to move in, there is no queuing at the elevators. Our move-in will now be 10 days, and students will get to pick their date and time that is most convenient for them and their family to arrive on campus. Now, let's say a student comes to campus on September 19th. Classes don't start till October 1st. So there is a large time between while they're on campus, we need to make sure we have activities for them. We have a strong collaboration with the Residence Life team on campus, and they're currently busy planning programs to make sure the students have something to do every single night. It will not be in group setting. It will be more virtual, things that they can do in their room or with their roommates. So again, things like painting kits, potting plants, virtual hikes, virtual workouts. So again, a lot of things are being planned for that week. Now, when students do arrive on campus, they will be expected to participate in a daily symptom screening almost 3 weeks before they arrive on campus. Again, making sure they're answering questions like, do you have flu symptoms, cough, cold? So again, we can identify any symptoms early on and making sure students are connected with their healthcare provider at home or if they're on campus with student health services. Students will also be offered the SARS-CoV-2 testing as part of the move-in process. Again, like Dr. Socia said, the goal is to identify and isolate any asymptomatic individual who could be, again, unintentionally spreading the virus. In the event a student does test positive, they will be moved to isolation housing. And on the next slide, I will share more details about it.
Gracias. La vivienda ha estado abierta desde el trimestre de primavera. Esperamos durante la pandemia. En preparación para el otoño, se han eliminado las opciones de viviendas de triple ocupación para reducir la densidad de viviendas. La mudanza comenzó el 9 de septiembre y escalona durante días para permitir el distanciamiento físico. Las actividades cuantificadas como parte de la programación residencial durante la mudanza incluyen kits de pintura de bricolaje, macetas para tu propia planta y caminatas virtuales. Se espera que todos los estudiantes que residen en el campus participen en la evaluación diaria de síntomas y se les ofrece la prueba gratis de SARS-CoV-2 como parte del proceso de mudanza. El objetivo es identificar y aislar a cualquier individuo asintomático que pueda propagar el virus sin querer. Si un estudiante da positivo, será trasladado a una vivienda de aislamiento. Next slide.
So again, in the event a student does test positive anytime during the academic year, they will be moved to a designated on-campus isolation housing. Again, it's a building where no one else is living. It's truly just set aside for isolation, where basic needs such as food delivery will be met based on the student's dietary needs. They will also receive a daily call and care from our student health and well-being services. Now, in the event the student is arriving to campus from an international location, currently CDC guidelines is recommending a 14-day quarantine period. It is also backed by the San Diego Public Health Order. So again, it does require that students are going to quarantine 14 days if they're coming to campus from an international location. If a student has an on-campus housing contract, there is really no concerns about quarantine housing. Just let us know. There is no cost to go into quarantine housing. We will assign one student to one bathroom, so they're not sharing a bathroom. Since we know they will be coming directly from the airport, linens, toilet paper will be in the apartment, Wi-Fi and cable will be ready to go. The only cost a student would have is just the meals that will get delivered to their unit. Again, the meals will get dropped off at the door, and it will be based on the dietary needs that the students tell us ahead of time. Again, the only thing the students need to do is make sure they indicate that they need quarantine housing and any dietary needs on their housing portal. Students also have the option to complete their 14 days of quarantine at home or off campus with family and friends. There is also options available in the event a student does not want to quarantine on campus. They could do that at a local hotel, and we have pre-negotiated rates for a really wide range of hotels, but students need to be mindful that students would be responsible for those costs.
En caso de que un estudiante que viva en el alojamiento del campus dé positivo en cualquier momento durante el año académico, será trasladado a un alojamiento de aislamiento designado en el campus, donde se cubrirán las necesidades básicas y se entregarán alimentos a la unidad del estudiante. También recibirán atención de los servicios de salud y bienestar estudiantil. Si un estudiante viene al campus desde una ubicación internacional, las pautas del CDC recomiendan un periodo de cuarentena de 14 días. A partir del 1 de julio, la Orden de Salud Pública del Condado de San Diego requiere un periodo de cuarentena de 14 días para viajar desde ubicaciones internacionales de nivel 2 o 3. Estudiantes con un contrato de vivienda pueden completar el periodo de cuarentena en viviendas designadas en el campus sin tarifas de alojamiento adicionales. Estas viviendas tienen su propio baño y se proporcionará de cama, papel del baño, acceso a Wi-Fi y cable. A los estudiantes se les cobrará por las comidas y los pedidos de mercado entregados a la unidad de vivienda durante la cuarentena. Las comidas se dejarán en la puerta y se prepararán según las necesidades dietéticas. Los estudiantes deben indicar sus necesidades de alojamiento, cuarentena y cualquier necesidad dietética en su portal de vivienda. Los estudiantes pueden completar su cuarentena de 14 días en casa o fuera del campus con familiares y amigos. También hay opciones disponibles con los hoteles locales a tarifas negociadas. Los estudiantes son responsables de estos costos. Next slide.
Hello and welcome from the international students.
Sorry. Thank you, Hamlada. It is clear that your team has been working hard. Next, we have an Assistant Director, Tricia Schuller, to give us an update on our international students. Gracias, Hamlada. Ahora tenemos a la asistente directora Tricia Schuller para una actualización sobre estudiantes internacionales.
Hello and welcome from the International Students and Programs Office. I wanted to talk a little bit about the visa and immigration policy updates that impact our international students in F1 and J1 non-immigrant visas. So on July 24th, the Student and Exchange Visitor Program provided an update regarding the fall 2020. This impacts the eligibility of students to enroll and enter the U.S. Based on their enrollment status, whether you are new or continuing, and where you will be physically located during the fall term, or where the student will be located during the fall term. For our new students, if the student is planning to arrive in the U.S. for the fall term, they are not eligible to take a 100% remote course load. Therefore, the student must enroll in at least one class with an in-person or hybrid component of instruction, which means there must be an in-person component to your course. For those students who plan to remain outside the U.S. for the fall term, those students may take a 100% remote course load in the fall. For our continuing students, so for our students who were here last year and are continuing their studies, those students may return to the U.S. or remain outside the U.S., and you may take a 100% remote course load in the fall if you wish.
Tricia les da las bienvenidas. Ella trabaja con la Oficina de Estudiantes Internacionales y Programas. Actualizaciones de política de inmigración y visas, y les puede ayudar con muchas de las preguntas que tenga su estudiante. Muchos estudiantes internacionales están decidiendo si viajar o quedarse, ¿verdad?, en los Estados Unidos. Y hay muchas cosas que ver y considerar. El 24 de julio va a haber un programa de visitantes de intercambio y estudiantes, SEVP, una orientación de otoño de este año. El impacto en los estudiantes está determinado por el estado de la inserción nueva o continua y ubicación durante el periodo de otoño. Para los nuevos estudiantes hay dos diferentes opciones. Llegar a los Estados Unidos, si llegan aquí, no es elegible para tomar el 100% de la carga de cursos a distancia, por lo que debe inscribirse en lo menos una clase con un componente de instrucción en persona o híbrido. Opción número 2, permanecer fuera de los Estados Unidos y realizar cursos remotos al 100% en el otoño de este año 2020. Alumnos que van a seguir sus clases, opción número 1, regreso a los Estados Unidos, elegibles para tomar cursos 100% remotos. Y opción número 2, permanecer fuera de los Estados Unidos y realizar cursos remotos al 100% en el otoño de 2020. Next slide.
On July 24th, the U.S. State Department started implementing a phased resumption of visa services at some U.S. embassies and consulates. Please do check the local U.S. consulate or embassy websites for availability and status of visa services. Also, in terms of travel restrictions, please be aware of 5 geographic location presidential proclamations that impact your eligibility to travel into the U.S. These geographical regions are Iran, Brazil, the Schengen countries, China, and the UK and Ireland. So for any students that are traveling from those countries, please do be aware of these travel restrictions. There are also 2 COVID-19 labor market proclamations that are suspending entry of certain non-immigrants into the US. In addition, I wanted to make one note for our international students who may be planning to travel through the US through a land port of entry. So for example, if you are coming from Mexico through the San Isidro or other land border crossing, please follow up with ISPO for additional information and travel support documentation. Next slide.
El julio 14, 2020, el Departamento de Estado implementa la reanudación gradual de los servicios de visa en algunas embajadas y consulados de los Estados Unidos. Consulte los sitios de las redes locales para conocer dónde hay cambios de esos servicios. Actual, 5 proclamaciones presidenciales COVID-19 de ubicación geográfica y las 2 proclamaciones del mercado laboral COVID-19 que suspenden la entrada de ciertos no inmigrantes a los Estados Unidos todavía están vigentes. Es importante que miren los recursos y las redes para esa información en los locales donde hay cambios. También, si su estudiante está haciendo planes para entrar al país por puerto entrada terrestre, por ejemplo, si va a entrar por México y entra por San Isidro, es importante que tenga la apropiada información y documentos para que enseñen que sus pasos para estar aquí en los Estados Unidos. Pero si tienen información, quieren más información sobre cómo venir o regresarse al país, es importante también que se comunique con ISPO para obtener más información y pueden hacer una cita también vía virtual, Zoom, y visitando icontact.ucsd.edu, icontact.ucsd.edu para comunicarse con los consejeros de la Oficina de Programas de Estudiantes Internacionales y Programas. Gracias.
And finally, here are some links of our web resources for our international students. Please feel free to utilize these links. There's a lot of useful information. And if you would like to talk with an international student advisor, we are available through Zoom at the icontact.ucsd.edu email address. In addition, we do have programming scheduled for our new international student orientations when they, whether our students are planning to start remote in their home countries or whether they are planning to enter the US. We do have required international student orientations, and we are looking forward to seeing you there.
Tenemos recursos en línea para estudiantes internacionales. Por favor, vayan a las redes, vayan a la información que ve aquí para agarrar más información y también para hacer citas con los consejeros para que les dé la información necesaria y también para agarrar información sobre sus orientaciones. Y esos son para todos los estudiantes si están aquí en los Estados Unidos o están en sus países. Gracias.
Thank you, Tricia, and to all of our presenters thus far. We will start the question and answer period of the webinar shortly. I will be joined by all of the speakers plus other administrators here at UC San Diego. All are here to answer your questions and share what our campus has been collaboratively working on throughout the summer. Gracias a todos nuestros presentadores. Comenzaremos la parte de preguntas y respuestas. Se nos unirán oradores y otros administradores, todos aquí para responder preguntas y compartir lo que la universidad ha estado haciendo en colaboración para preparar nuestra apertura. Can all of our panelists turn on their cameras and join me in for the Q&A? As they join, we thank you all for the questions that were pre-submitted. We received over 500 questions, and we have selected questions to address the dominant themes here today. You are welcome to ask through the Q&A feature via Zoom to submit additional questions. En este momento le pido a mis colegas que prendan su cámara y me acompañen para la sesión de preguntas y respuestas. En lo que ellos se acomodan, les agradezco a todos los que compartieron sus preguntas en antemano. Recibimos más de 500 preguntas, las cuales utilizamos para preparar la presentación de hoy y responder a los temas dominantes. Les recuerdo que pueden utilizar la función de preguntas y respuestas en Zoom para enviar preguntas adicionales. We know these are hard times for everyone, and UC San Diego has worked very diligently to allow your family to make the choice that is best for you. Some will choose to have their loved ones on campus, to have a set place to engage in academics with others who have the same goal, to have access to Wi-Fi, or enjoy as close to a traditional college experience as possible. Others will choose to stay at home to pursue their academics. We support what works best for your child and have prepared to ensure safety as best as we can on our campus while providing a wide range of options for you. Sabemos que estos son tiempos difíciles para todos y nosotros en UC San Diego hemos estado trabajando diligentemente para que nuestras familias tomen la mejor opción. Algunos tomarán la decisión de enviar a sus hijos a la universidad, ya sea para que tengan un lugar dedicado para sus estudios, para que estén cerca de otros estudiantes con similares metas, por el Wi-Fi, o simplemente por atentar a una experiencia universitaria un poco más tradicional. Mientras otras familias tomarán la decisión de mantenerse en casa mientras toman cursos. De todas formas, nosotros estamos dedicados a proveerles el apoyo necesario para que ustedes tomen la mejor decisión. Let's get started. First question to Hamlada and or Patty, if you want to join in. What are your plans to support students finding housing on or off campus? Nuestra primera pregunta para Hamlada o Patty. ¿Cómo ayudamos a los estudiantes a encontrar alojamiento dentro y fuera de la universidad?
Well, good evening, everybody. It's not afternoon anymore. So we have a fabulous off-campus housing office, and we also have an off-campus housing coordinator that is available to help students find off-campus housing. Please just visit our off-campus housing.ucsd.edu website for some information. We also have a off-campus housing guide that was created by students for students. And that's another great place to find out information about off-campus housing on the Basic Needs website, which is basicneeds.ucsd.edu.
I will add to, again, Patty it has done a really comprehensive list of resources available for students off campus. For on campus, usually by the end of summer, we will have some spaces that we can offer to students who do not have a guarantee. We're hopeful that we will be able to do the same this summer. So the housing wait list is opening up tomorrow. So in the event a student missed their deadline or they don't have a guarantee but would like to live on campus, I would highly encourage that they sign up for the wait list too.
La pregunta fue, ¿cómo ayudamos a los estudiantes a encontrar alojamiento dentro y fuera del campus? Buenas noches. Tenemos un sitio web de viviendas fuera del campus y tenemos sitio web de necesidades básicas con varios recursos, incluyendo una guía creada por estudiantes nuevos. Si los estudiantes no cumplieron con la fecha límite para inscribirse en el alojamiento en el campus, abriremos la lista de espera mañana. Next question.
Thank you. The next question will go to our Dean of Student Affairs, Sherry, in one of our colleges. What will orientation look like for students and parents? La próxima pregunta será para nuestra decana de uno de nuestros colegios, la decana Sherry. Y la pregunta es, ¿cómo se llevará a cabo las orientaciones para nuestros estudiantes y nuestros padres?
Thank you. New students completed a series of pre-orientation modules online. Each college is also going to be offering virtual orientation for all new first-year and transfer students, and student participation is mandatory. New student orientation is designed to provide our students with information and resources to help them succeed at UC San Diego, to meet new and current students and staff members and to learn more about opportunities for involvement. We'll also be offering virtual orientation for parent and family members. Attendance for that is optional but encouraged. And I'll make sure that we get in the chat information on where you can find out about your colleges, your students' college orientation session and parent family orientation as well.
I can take that. Las orientaciones se llevarán a cabo en el otoño y tienen los estudiantes unos currículos que van a completar antes de que lleguen. También van a tener orientación virtual y es 100% importante y obligatorio que ellos participen en las orientaciones. También va a haber una orientación para los padres y es opcional, pero bueno, es importante, de verdad, también estar informado de lo que está pasando. Y también les van a mandar información sobre las orientaciones cuando llegue un poco más cerca por el colegio donde su estudiante va a atender.
Thank you. And then also Parents and Family Programs is offering virtual orientations for families of incoming international students, and registration is now open, and you can go to parents.ucsd.edu. Y también queremos compartir que hay orientaciones para padres y familias para los estudiantes internacionales, y la registración está abierta y se pueden registrar a parents.ucsd.edu. La siguiente pregunta es para Patty o Carlos y es referente a los recursos que van a estar disponibles para los estudiantes en el otoño. The next question is either for Patty or for Carlos or anybody who wants to add in. What are some of the resources that will be available for students come the fall semester?
So come fall semester, we will offer all of our usual student support services, whether that is in the form of advising, tutoring, supplemental instruction, CAPS, health services, etc. And those will be available both online and remotely. En el otoño, todos los recursos habituales serán disponibles. Tanto advising, que no sé cómo se dice en español, como tutoring. Tutoría, gracias. Y hasta servicios servicios de salud mental y otros programas de deporte. Van a estar disponibles tanto en persona como virtualmente.
So on campus, we have our Price Center and our original Student Center that has remained open throughout the pandemic. So those are spaces that will continue to be open through fall quarter. We also have resources for all of our student organizations virtually, so advising and communication and leadership workshops that will continue virtually. We have student legal services that are available to our students. We have some art performances that are all planned for the beginning of the year. We have an entire Welcome Week schedule that we will be sharing with students. In fact, they'll be getting in the mail a big brochure of all the events and happenings for Welcome Week that they'll see probably in the next couple weeks.
Tenemos varios centros todavía que están abiertos en el campus y contamos con un síndico virtual de estudiantes lleno de diferentes programas y eventos liderados por estudiantes y departamento. Next question.
The next question for Carlos or Carlos or anybody else who has anything to add. What will classes look like in the fall semester? La próxima pregunta es referente a cómo se llevarán a cabo las clases en el otoño.
About 30% of classes will be in-person or hybrid, and 70% of classes are expected to be remote. The classes that are going to be in person will be very much smaller groups. We have no class that has more than 50 students, and most are very much smaller than that. There's only a handful of classes that cannot be taken online, and those are classes that are specifically designed to give students hands-on experience. So those could be some laboratory classes that use special equipment, or performance classes that allow students to perform on a stage. Everything else will be available online if the students choose to engage in online. Aproximadamente el 30% de nuestras clases van a ser en persona y el 70% van a ser de forma remota. La mayoría de las clases que van a ser en persona, bueno, todas las clases que van a ser en persona van a ser de tamaño reducido, no más de 50 personas, la mayoría mucho más pequeñas. Las clases que se ofrecen en persona también se ofrecen en línea. Las únicas clases que no se pueden tomar en línea son un grupo reducido de clases que necesitan el uso de equipo especializado o que tienen algún elemento de performance, como baile o teatro.
Gracias. The next question for Dr. Angela and or Carlos as well. Will students have to wear a mask in class? La siguiente pregunta es para la doctora Ángela o Carlos también. ¿Nuestros estudiantes va a ser requisito que utilicen una máscara en clase?
Happy to answer that question. Yes, our students will be asked to mask anytime they're outside of their residence. For any student living on campus, when you leave your residence, your apartment, your residence hall, you will be asked to mask. We'll be asking that of our staff and our faculty. All of us are committing to this as a community. For students living off campus, if they come onto the campus, they will be asked to mask as well. So yes, in a classroom, the students would need to be masked. But when they return to their residence, we understand that it's very difficult to be masked every minute, and certainly not while you're asleep. So in their residential space, that is the one place we're allowing students not to mask. There is one other place, and Dr. Mahaffey appreciates it quite a bit. That is our swimming. We don't ask individuals to swim with a mask on. Similarly, when you need to lift your mask to be able to eat. We want everyone to keep the social distancing, though, of 6 feet when they are eating to protect them as well. If you happen to be in a personal office alone, you could also take your mask down. But if anybody came to visit you, we'll ask you to put the mask. So the behaviors we're asking of our faculty and our staff and our students are all the same. We're in this together.
En sus residencias no se requiere la máscara, pero es importante que cuando estén con otra gente, se la pongan. También no se requiere si ellos están comiendo o también si están nadando. Entonces es lo mismo que les vamos a preguntar a la comunidad, que por favor participe en ponerse la máscara si es necesario.
Thank you. The next questions, there are a couple of questions that are all housing related for Hamilada. And I think I'll maybe break them down a little bit. How will housing work for the fall semester? If you can please explain doubles versus singles. Las siguientes preguntas se refieren a la vivienda en la universidad y las vamos a tomar una por una y son para la señora Hamilada. ¿Cómo va a funcionar la vivienda en la universidad este otoño? Si nos puede explicar un poquito sobre lo que significa ser doble o vivienda sola.
Thank you. Great questions. Again, no triples, great starting point. The second is we have 2 kinds of housing, residence halls for first-year students and then apartments, usually for second and continuing students. Our residence halls, that tends to have more students to the bathroom. In order to reduce the density, we are going with 1 student per room for the fall quarter. For the winter and spring, they will get a roommate, but for the fall, they will be by themselves. In the apartments, we have singles that are available, and then we will also have students in doubles, but again, making sure that there's at least 6 feet distance between their beds. In the event there is an apartment space that is less than 6 feet between the beds, we're converting that space temporarily as a single for the fall quarter.
Hay diferentes tipos de viviendas. Hay los dormitorios y en esos siempre hay muchas más personas. Solo van a ser un cuarto ahí. En los apartamentos que están un poquito más grandes pueden tener hasta 2 personas en un cuarto, pero solo si pueden mantener 6 pies de distancia entre las 2 camas. Por el otoño solo van a ser en las residencias, los dormitorios, una persona, pero en los siguientes meses a lo mejor pueden darles un roommate.
Gracias. The next question is with regards to housing as well, Hamlada, and what are the dining options for our students living on campus? La siguiente pregunta también es referente a la vivienda en la universidad. ¿Y cuáles son las opciones para los alimentos y los estudiantes que están en la universidad?
So for, again, the 10 days of moving, dining will be a to-go model only. So what that means is students need to place their order online on their dining app and come to the dining center and pick up their food. There is no waiting in line. There will be no platforms to choose from. The meals will be ready for them to pick up. So again, we want it to be quick. They're coming into the dining center, picking up the meals and leaving. After the 10 days, we will evaluate where we are with the San Diego Public Health Order. So right now we can have outdoor dining, but no indoor dining. So we know outdoor dining will most certainly be allowed. So we will have outdoor dining after the 10 days. And again, if there is some guidelines that we are allowed to have indoor dining, then we will offer that, but there will be reduced furniture. Chairs will be at least 6 feet apart. And again, we will have placements on the tables and the floorings to make sure that students are truly sitting 6 feet apart.
Durante la mudanza, todas las comidas serán solo para llevar. No habrá asiento. Los estudiantes pueden pedir comidas en línea sin costo. Después de la mudanza, al aire libre es posible dependiendo en las pautas del condado. Es posible que podamos tener cenas en el interior con mediantes de distanciamiento. Next question.
And the last question for now, back to Hamlada, is how do I know if I'm off the wait list? Y la última pregunta, por lo tanto, para la señora Hamlada, es referente a cuándo voy a saber si ya no estoy en la lista de espera.
So the waitlist just opened. Our hope is to start offering spaces towards the later part of August. But if you are not sure, if you would email our housing office, and we will put our email address in the Q&A so everyone has access to it. Just let us know and we can reach out to you individually.
A los meses de agosto uno puede saber si todavía está en la lista de espera. Si todavía tiene preguntas, también puede hablar a la oficina para preguntar. Next question.
Thank you. The next question for Angela, and I'm going to break it up into two. How will testing work for my students who are on campus? Las siguientes preguntas es para la doctora Ángela y las vamos a hacer en dos partes. ¿Cómo van a conducir los exámenes para los estudiantes, examen médico de COVID-19 para los estudiantes que viven o que están en la universidad?
Yes, so testing, which is done for symptoms, will be the same, whether your student is living on campus or off campus. Any of our student community that has symptoms suggestive of COVID-19 or exposure will be offered testing. And we have a number of sites in conjunction with our health system to do this, so it can be same day with results back next day.
Les van a hacer disponibles el examen, puede ser el mismo día o el siguiente día con los resultados y va a ser ofrecido a los estudiantes que están en el campus o fuera del campus.
For students with the asymptomatic, the testing that is done when we're trying to pick up virus when people aren't aware they have it, that pattern and frequency may be a little different for those living on campus versus off campus. That is something we will determine as we have more information about viral activity, as well as taking into account if we see any evidence of virus coming out of a building in which students live. So that frequency might be a little different for an on-campus student compared to an off-campus student.
Si el estudiante está asintomático, la secuencia donde van a tener los exámenes va a ser un poco diferente dependiendo en los estudios cómo ven el virus, cómo está manejando, ¿verdad? Y desarrollando. Entonces es algo que van a ver cuando agarren un poco más información, un poco también diferente para los estudiantes que están en el campus y también para los estudiantes que no están en el campus. Entonces ahorita tienen que ver más información sobre lo que está pasando con el virus.
The second part of that question is, what about testing for students who are off campus? Y la segunda parte de esta pregunta es, ¿cómo se van a llevar a cabo los exámenes médicos de COVID-19 para los estudiantes que no están en la universidad?
Yes, hopefully I tried to explain that and reassure folks. If your student is off campus, if they have symptoms or they've been exposed, they will be tested just like a student on campus. They will have access to testing. The frequency of asymptomatic testing might be a little different.
Si el estudiante está viviendo fuera del campus, van a tener acceso al examen, igualmente como los estudiantes que están viviendo en el campus. Entonces, eso va a ser algo que va a estar disponible y muy diferente de las personas que no tienen síntomas, ¿verdad? Entonces, va a recibir la información necesaria y el examen necesario para tener los resultados. Puede ser tan pronto como el siguiente día.
Thank you. The next question is actually for anybody who feels on our panel that can answer. How will we engage our students who take 100% remote classes? La siguiente pregunta es para, yo creo todos los que están aquí pueden contribuir algo. ¿Cómo vamos a mantener contacto y vamos a mantener la conexión con los estudiantes que no están en la universidad y que están tomando todas sus clases a distancia?
So we have a virtual student union that is available to all students. It is Virtual Student Union at ucsd.edu, and it is full of a variety of virtual events and programs.
En línea ofrecemos varios programas para los estudiantes para que participen. Solo tienen que buscar y les damos la dirección.
I would just add that we are keenly aware of the need to help our students connect with each other. And so all the programs and the work that's happening on campus is really centered on making sure that we're connecting our students with each other during this remote period.
Y sí entendemos que los estudiantes quieren reconocerse, si quieren tener comunidad. So, también la gente que vive en sus apartamentos, en su colegio, también pueden hablar y con que tengan mantenimiento de los 6 pies.
I also wanted to offer that the graduate division and the undergraduate college communities have been preparing for remote and virtual student engagement, and that our student health and well-being and career services and our academic support resources are all available remotely as well.
Ya hemos tenido práctica por más de 6 meses en ayudar a los estudiantes y todas las oficinas entienden qué importante es. Y las oficinas de carrera, los colegios, todos tienen programas listos para los estudiantes.
you. The next question for Allison or Angela. Can loved ones come visit their students on campus? And will campus regulate who can come on and off campus? La siguiente pregunta para Allison o para Ángela es, ¿podemos llegar a visitar a nuestros estudiantes a la universidad? ¿Y cómo vamos a regular quién entra y sale de la universidad?
I can speak to a little bit of this, and I think Allison will cover another part. I want to address, can you visit your student in their residence, in the place they are living? And the answer, unfortunately, is no. We are asking all students to respect the residence area, the dorm, the apartment they're in, the residence hall, as a private space just for the members and the individuals that live in that space. So no guests, family guests, student guests, we don't want them to come into that space. This is one of the ways we will reduce viral spread. So in that small area, we will ask that parents do not spend time with their students, their children.
En el espacio de sus residencias no va a ser permitido que visiten a sus, sus hijos y sus hijas. Y es para reducir que el virus se continúe, pues que se pase a otras personas. Entonces, respetuosamente vamos a preguntarles que por favor no nos visiten en su espacio de residencia.
So in the public areas of the university, families can certainly get together, being masked, keeping the 6 feet of distance.
En el público sí es posible. Por ejemplo, tenemos muchos espacios muy grandes donde pueden visitar con su hija e hijo, pero tienen que ponerse su máscara y mantener la distancia.
I would only add that this is our effort to keep our students' health and well-being as a priority, but we know that it's very difficult.
Queremos nomás recordarles que queremos que todos estemos seguros y saludables, y es por eso que vamos a hacer eso, restringir el acceso a la residencia. Pero les agradecemos y esperemos que todos, ¿verdad? Pues entiendan de lo que está pasando también. Y gracias.
Ruth, can I add something? So, of course, move-in is a very big question because it is such an important time to drop off your student. So we are asking that the moving party, you can come with your student, but we're asking that it's limited to 2 individuals. So I guess the student can pick who the 2 individuals are that they bring to campus to help them move in. And then we do ask that once students are done with their testing, you arrive at your college residential area, students will go by themselves to go pick up the key. And once they come back, once they have the key, they will meet the moving party. And then the moving party will have 45 minutes to unload their car and take everything to the room. Of course, it seems like it's a short period of time, but we really want to decrease the amount of time non-residents are spending in the residential community.
Sí hay una excepción para la mudanza. Entendemos que es bien importante para los papás poder llevar a sus hijos a su cuarto. So pedimos que cuando lleguen, que nomás traigan 2 personas, o el estudiante y 2 personas. Y luego el estudiante llega, se baja del y luego va a llegar a sus llaves, regresa al carro, ahí le van a dar también su prueba gratis para saber si tiene fiebre o cómo está. De ahí van a tener 45 minutos para ir de todas las cosas del carro a la residencia. Y luego de ahí les pedimos que otra vez todos se salgan.
Thank you. The next question for Sherry, when can our student register? La siguiente pregunta para Sherry es, ¿cuándo se puede registrar para clases mi estudiante?
So returning students or continuing students registered for classes last spring, and for new students, registration started this week. And for each of our new students, they did receive a set of course recommendations from college advising staff.
Para los nuevos estudiantes, el registro de clases comenzó esta semana y ya hubieran recibido información de cuáles clases hay. Para los estudiantes que están regresando, ellos hubieran escogido sus clases hace unos meses.
Okay, thank you. Back to Hamlada. How often are the facilities cleaned and are bathrooms shared? La siguiente pregunta de nuevo para la residencia es, ¿qué frecuentemente se va a hacer la limpieza en los edificios de residencia? Y referente a los baños, ¿van a ser compartidos?
Thank you, Marut. So students that are living in the residence halls, again, there tend to be more students to the bathroom in the residence halls. But again, since we will be at singles for the fall, it will be much lower. But those bathrooms are cleaned 5 times a week, so very frequently. Students that live in an apartment, again, those tend to be smaller groups. The apartments are cleaned once a week. In addition to that, the custodial team will be doing frequent cleaning of high-touch areas, sinks, faucets, elevator buttons, so anything that a student is going to touch multiple times, our custodial staff will be cleaning on a more frequent basis. We will also have cleaning products that are available at all the front desks. So if the student would like more cleaning, they can absolutely take part in that.
Hay dos diferentes tipos de viviendas, las residencias, que a veces hay más gente. Estos se limpian 5 veces a la semana y los apartamentos que tienen menos gente se limpian 1 vez a la semana. El equipo de concejales realiza una limpieza frecuente de las áreas de alto contacto, incluyendo los botones de ascensor y las perillas de las puertas. También los artículos de limpieza están disponibles en la recepción en caso que los estudiantes quieran hacer una limpieza adicional. Next question.
We're down to our last 2 questions, and we're back to Allison and Angela. How will you ensure compliance with best practices to keep our loved ones safe? Ya vamos casi llegando al final, a las últimas 2 preguntas, y de regreso a Allison y a Angela. ¿Cómo vamos a asegurarnos que todo el mundo esté siguiendo las mejores prácticas para mantenernos a salvo, ya sea usando las máscaras y teniendo los 6 pies de distanciamiento físico?
Well, first and foremost, we're approaching compliance with public health guidelines from a place of awareness and education. We're not making assumptions that our students are not wearing masks because they're intending to spread germs or cause any harm. Again, we're going to be working from a place of education and awareness, using peer education, quite a bit of communication, and social norming campaigns. And then I'll take a moment and let my interpreting colleagues share that, and then I'll provide a more extensive overview of our student conduct process as well.
Estamos y vamos a seguir las pautas del condado y estamos utilizando educación y programas para educar a los estudiantes. Y tenemos fe, ¿verdad?, que los estudiantes van a hacer lo que se requiere para estar seguros.
We also have an interim procedure for our student conduct code, which we will be enforcing from the perspective that students who are intentionally spreading germs and potentially COVID-19 by hosting parties or gatherings on or off campus, we will consider that an intentional violation of our student conduct code and will exercise sanctions and the related due process to ensure that students who are intentionally bringing large groups or small groups together where COVID-19 could be transmitted are understanding the consequences and receiving the appropriate sanctions.
Tenemos un código de conducta estudiantil que nos permite abordar los comportamientos de propagación intencional, pero vamos a estar en comunicación con los estudiantes, que se pongan la máscara, que se mantengan con distancia cuando es necesario y apropiado. Entonces tenemos el código que los va a ayudar también y los estudiantes van a saber también sobre el código durante las orientaciones.
Anything else that you want to add, Angela?
I just think we're going to make masks very available to the students, providing them free of charge to make it really easy for the students to comply. I think their colleagues will also make it easy because they'll all be doing it.
Vamos a hacer el proceso de ponerse las máscaras fácil, hacer máscaras gratis, también enseñarles que toda la comunidad va a estar practicando lo mismo para la salud de todos.
And our last question, back to Allison. Will tuition be reduced given the change in how instruction will happen in the fall? Y nuestra última pregunta de regreso para Allison es referente a el costo universitaria de la inscripción. Si va a ser reducida, llevado a cabo por consecuencia de que la instrucción se ha cambiado a distancia este próximo otoño.
So it's a good and important question that we get regularly. The University of California Office of the President sets all tuition fees, and at this time we do not anticipate any reductions in either. Please know though that we are working diligently 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to ensure that the remote learning experience and the remote out of classroom experience is vibrant and rich and high quality.
Es buena pregunta. Hemos recibido esta pregunta de varios padres y unfortunadamente los precios de la universidad están puestos por el presidente de la universidad por todos los UCs en California. Y en esos momentos no ha cambiado el precio, pero sí estamos trabajando bien mucho para poner y darles experiencias que sí les va a ayudar a sus estudiantes.
Gracias. Thank you all for joining us today, and thank you to all of our panelists for providing information that will support your family in making the best decision for your loved ones. We look forward to connecting with you in the fall quarter, either on Zoom or in person, should your loved one choose to live on campus. This webinar will be posted online at bcsa.ucsd.edu. Have a wonderful evening and stay healthy. Gracias por acompañarnos. Hemos tenido más de 1000 asistentes sobre los últimos 3 días y gracias a nuestros panelistas por proveer la información necesaria para nuestras familias y para que ellos puedan tomar la mejor decisión. Esperamos vernos en el otoño, ya sea por Zoom o en persona. Publicaremos este seminario en línea en vcsa.ucsd.edu. Gracias, tengan una buena noche y manténganse a salvo.